Hi and welcome to Drummer's Review. I'm Nolly and today we're going to be taking a look at an SJC Navigator shell pack and Alpha Aluminium Snare. SJC are largely known for their USA-made custom drums, catering predominantly to players in the rock and metal world, but with their top-flight bespoke kits coming in at a sizable cost, SJC have expanded their range in recent years, adding several tiers of Taiwanese-made drums, with the Navigator being one of the higher spec offerings. Our review shell pack is finished in royal purple with brass hardware, and features a 22 by 18 inch bass drum, 12 by 8 inch rack tom, and a 16 by 16 inch floor tom. The shells are 7-ply North American maple with a 45-degree bearing edge, while the accompanying Alpha Aluminium snare is a 14 by 6.5, and it's fitted with die-cast hoops and a 40-strand wire. The shell pack and snare have an SRP of $15.49 and £449 respectively, but looking around at online retailers you can find these drums on sale for about 5 to 10% cheaper than that. This is the first time we've featured SJC on Drummer's Review, so we're really looking forward to seeing how they'd fare under scrutiny. Before we go any further though, let's look at some more playing examples. Finished in royal purple, this is a visually arresting kit, though the satin finish manages to prevent it from looking gaudy despite the gleaming gold hardware. The kick and toms strike a balance of feeling solid to handle, yet also being lightweight enough that you can sense they'll be nicely resonant. Now, aluminium snares are often deceiving. I don't expect them to be heavy, but it still takes me by surprise just how light they are when I go to pick one up. This one is no exception, with the 1.2mm rolled shell totally offsetting the mass of the 20 lugs and the die-cast hoops. Tuning up the kit, we were pleased with how quickly the heads achieved even tension all around, which speaks to really well-built shells and bearing edges. We were surprised, however, at how dry the tom and snare batter heads were, and after inspecting closely, we realised they seemed to be a 2-ply but with a bonded edge, which would explain their very short voice and lack of overtones. These are Taiwanese-made Evans heads with clear single-ply resos on the snare and toms, while the kit has a clear EQ4 style batter and an unported reso. Tonally speaking, the whole kit shares a common set of traits. It's very short and punchy, with a lot of focused mid-range and quite an aggressive attack, though this is mainly due to the extremely dry character of the drums rather than any overbearing brightness. The bass drum is extremely tight indeed, almost unbelievably so given the lack of a front port. There's a nice wet slap from the batter head and a bit of the warm mid-range that you might expect from an all-maple drum, but it's gone almost as fast as it appears. And we can imagine that with a port cut into the front, this will become an extremely attack-focused kick sound, entirely appropriate for faster and heavier music styles. The toms are really fat, and they have the kind of rolled-off top end that coated heads tend to give. From the player's perspective, they sound incredible, with almost no overtone to speak of, and a lovely combination of punch, but without the bright plasticky attack. The rack tom springs to life very easily, while the floor tom feels like it needs perhaps a little bit more effort, but then delivers an extremely articulate and beefy tone. Finally, the snare is a surprisingly quiet and musical drum considering its look and SJC's heritage. As with the toms and kick, the sustain is extremely short with very little overtone. And while the 40-strand wires give it plenty of articulation, it's far from raspy or sizzly. Rim shots feel great with a very satisfying pock, while the cross-stick sound is warm but perhaps lacking a little bit of projection. Listening to the kit as a whole, the thing that strikes us is that it seems like SJC have taken a fairly versatile, tried and tested shell design, but then they've created a very specific and appropriate sound, mainly through the choice of heads for the kit. Since so many drummers in heavier styles would use muffling to get short and focused tones, it's really cool that the Navigator delivers that kind of tone right out of the box. We're really pleased to see a company driving the sound of their drums so emphatically towards their target audience, and we'd just say that if you get one of these kits and like how it sounds, when it comes time to replace the heads, make sure you use a similar type in order to keep things in the same vein. You might be surprised at just how different the sound would be if you were to reskin with less muffled sounding heads. In terms of build quality, there's absolutely nothing to complain about whatsoever. The shells are super clean with decent quality maple visible inside, and the bearing edges are neatly executed. The finish is nicely done and it's really consistent across all the drums, while the snare has a lovely even luster. The shell hardware is decent quality, the lugs aren't the heaviest duty we've come across, certainly up to the task at hand though, while the super hoops on the toms are a solid 2.3mm design, and the snare strainer is a smooth and robust one. It's also nice to see memory locks all around, and the rack tom mounting system does a great job of preserving the tone of the drum when put into playing position. It's also neat that SJC have put little rubber inserts into the floor tom leg holders and on the ends of the bass drum lugs to give more grip and to prevent scratching. Overall, we're really impressed with this shell pack. Underneath the eye-catching look and the dry factory heads, it's quite a straightforward, well-made maple kit and aluminium snare that should be a versatile and dependable workhorse for intermediate to advanced drummers. In terms of value for money, these drums are just about at the top of what most people would pay for a Taiwanese built 3-piece shell pack and snare drum. That said, they are really well-made instruments that also offer a cool, stylized look and sound to players who want to get in on the SJC vibe without breaking the bank. Though, one consideration is that the US-made Tour Series drums are available for only a couple of £100 more, also offering maple shells with 45-degree bearing edges, albeit in more muted colour options. We were pleasantly surprised with this Navigator kit and Alpha Snare. Why don't you let us know what you think by leaving a comment below. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so you can get notifications of our future videos, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Drummers Review.